Hello and welcome to Coffee and Bonsai with Tom. We've got a great episode today. We're going to work on my Portulacaria Afra forest. This thing really needs a prune, and if I don't do it now, I'm just going to create more work and more misshapen stuff to deal with in the future. This is this tree's first pruning. These all came from a large plant, which I haven't done a video on yet, but I will, and that one will be a lot of work to deal with. But these are all just long branches that I cut off because this thing was quite huge and sprawling last fall, and I just stuck them in this pot and sort of, put them in there with rocks and just let it alone until now. Because I wanted to be confident it was growing roots, and I think it's looking pretty good at this point, so I think it is time to kind of move it forward. But like I said, I'll show the mother plant in a future video, but today I want to work on fixing this guy up. But this tree has put on quite a lot of healthy growth. I mean, you can see we've got long sprigs with long internodes and lots of leaves. And it's really sort of shot out, multiple branches from the top. So I want to clean that up, probably radically reduce the height and simplify it. Figure out what kind of style I want here. Probably take the rocks out of there, and we'll probably have to put in some more dirt. Before I get started with the pruning, I want to talk a little bit about how jades grow. I haven't mentioned too much about pruning, and that was a comment in one of my videos, so I want to address that a little bit. You can see how these grow. You get these long shoots, and then the leaves come out at 90 degrees to each other. And I want to talk a bit about pruning. Like if you look at this leaf, you can see the new leaves come out at the base of the previous leaves. And if I were to cut this back, you're just kind of forcing that to happen. And that's basically the idea with pruning. And I'll do a better description here in a minute when we look at another one. But you can see this one is, the leaves have already come out on its own just because of the robust growth. But if I were to cut this back right above where they're growing, I would get a new branch where each one of those sets of leaves are. And at the end of that branch, these leaves would form, which would be 90 degrees to the previous leaves. And, that just keeps alternating. So it's very easy to predict how these are going to grow. You can also just pinch it off. So if I do this, I'll get much stronger growth here, and also potentially on the previous sets of leaves, they may also backbud as well. But let's look at another example here. So in this case, if I look at this, if I wanted some new branches to come out right above these leaves, I can just pinch this off, and I will get a branch basically coming out in the same direction as each leaf, and then the new leaves off of that branch will be 90 degrees to those leaves. And so that is the basic principle of how these grow. And it's quite simple. And if you look at a branch that's kind of already grown too much, you can see how it works. The other thing you can do is once you get the new set of leaves, you just pinch off the old leaves here. You no longer need those. Some people leave them on to make it more dense. I prefer to take them off. I just think it looks better. And then you can see that you'll get a nice new set of sharp-looking tiny leaves. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Let's look at what I might want to do styling-wise on this. My idea for this basically is sort of a pine forest, right? So I sort of want tall, straight, conical, tight growth for this. If you can see, if I hold this up, I kind of want a line like that for each tree, which will be quite a reduction from what we already have, because right now it's very thick and you literally cannot see the forest for the leaves. Now some might say, Portulacaria is not suitable for that style of tree, but I'm not sure I agree. I mean, I've done larch forests, for example. People make forests of those all the time, and they grow in much more vigorously than this, with tons of leaves that need to be cut back and maintained. So we're going to try it, and I think I'm going to take it right down here and reduce the height right off the bat and sort of set the tone for, you know, this is the main tree, the first tree. And so that'll sort of set the tone for the height of the other trees and how we want to style it. So this main tree, I will just take it down to probably 1 to 2 sets of leaves here all over, because, you know, that's typical with your first major pruning of a tree. And really, I find it helps to prune the main tree, and that sort of sets the tone for the rest of the trees in the forest as well. I apologize, it'll be a little hard to see what I'm doing here. I'll try to stick my hand back there periodically so you can see what's going on, but it will get clear as we continue pruning. But yeah, my plan is to really take this back majorly because I want to set up this conical form. And, you know, this tree is growing quite healthily. It's very vigorous, so I think it'll respond, you know, pretty quickly to what we're doing here. And so my idea is to, you know, get these conical triangles with all the various trees, and also to do branch selection. You know, I didn't do any of that when I put these in here, so it really will be necessary to get rid of branches we don't want. Here you can see we've got a huge one that comes out the back and is, you know, as tall as any tree in here. So so all this kind of stuff will just have to be cut right back. And like I said, I want tight conical forms and some space between these trees, certainly at this point, and so I will be taking it back pretty hard. You know, here's one that's kind of coming right out the front, and I want to see the trunk, so we'll take that off and keep the one going to the left. Sometimes, you know, pruning these forests that are overgrown, you know, it's kind of like a poodle, like shaving a poodle. Like once you get the hair off, you know, you realize there's not a whole lot there. If I put my hand back here, you know, this tree we've cleaned it up a lot already. And that'll become much more apparent as I move on to the other trees in the forest. So I think this primary tree is about done. I'll take this off and take another look at it, but you know, I think we've kind of really reduced it down to its essence here, and you know, we'll let it grow and develop and prune it again. I was tempted of maybe making it shorter, but I'm just going to let it go for now. I think that's probably a good height, and it helps. You know, we'll move on to this tree. You know, now that we've set the height of that primary tree, it's pretty easy just to lop the top off of this, because I know, you know, about the height I want this tree. It's sort of, you know, to set the scale, it's going to be much, much shorter. And, you know, that makes it easy. So I think I'll just continue to really prune this one back kind of drastically, you know, and kind of redefine its whole shape as it sort of grows out. I want much more branching and things to be smaller. I'm going to take this back off. I don't want that leader there. So we basically took the whole top off of the tree. And there's not a whole lot more to do to that one. You know, this is actually a good time to be doing this kind of work to this tree too, because you know, we're past midsummer, but I pretty much keep these things growing right through until almost November outside. And so, you know, they'll have plenty of time to put on a bunch of new growth, and I'll probably have to prune them again. Let me just clean up a little bit here. And it kind of brings me and I went to a PSBA meeting one time. John Naka was there, and it was funny. You know, he was just taking questions, and, you know, there's all kinds of questions about, when do you do this? When do you do that? When do you do pruning? I think we're going to take the top right off of this thing. It's just way too much. So voila, look at that. And, you know, his basic comment was, you know, I prune when I have time, you know, and then, of course, he could rely on expertise of aftercare, probably more so than most. I'm just going to take some of this heavy growth back because I know I don't want this tree to be this tall. So I'll just sort of reduce it down to about where I want it and then do some refinement there. Yeah, this one is growing quite well. But, you know, that's a good point, especially with Portulacaria. I mean, I move these indoors in the winter. And so I just love that I can do anything at any time. And, you know, I mean, of course, it'll grow more slowly in the winter, but they keep making progress. But like I said, I think we'll probably have to prune this one at least one more time before winter. I'm going to take this top off because just reducing these down to about the height that I want them, and then I'll simplify it from there. I kind of look at, you know, where do I want my triangles? I think I want sort of 2 sets of triangles here with the forest. And so I'll just kind of lop off the heights and do some profile pruning around the size I want those triangles, and then I'll come in and be a bit more, do some more selective branch pruning, which you see here. Now, most of my trunks are kind of the same size, so I'm sort of just punting on that for now. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I figure, you know, like I'm cutting this one back drastically, so it's going to grow less, and I figure the tall ones will grow more, so they'll naturally get a bit thicker. And I think also as we get more foliage, I can sort of, you know, work with that as well. But for now, I'm not going to worry about that too much. I mean, these were all kind of cuttings from, as I said, branches, and so they're all kind of similar size. I basically just stacked them based on height, and they should all grow at about the same rate. So if I'm cutting these back shorter with less foliage, you know, over time, I think they will remain smaller. But we'll see. I may have to make some more drastic action as it goes forward. So the first 3 trees in the front are about as simple as I can make them, and I'm going to work on this sort of middle tree here, which I think has a nice placement. You know, I kind of lopped the top of that one off, and you know, we're slowly cutting through the jungle so we can actually sort of see what's going on. And you know, I'm basically just cutting it back as close as I can to 1 or 2 sets of leaves, making it conical, and doing branch selection. And if you notice, I've been removing bar branches. You know, I sort of want the branches to grow to the outside of the forest. I don't want branches kind of coming to the inside. And, you know, you sort of have to think forward a little bit about, you know, when this thickens up, which direction do I want to encourage this tree to grow in? And, you know, it's not always easy, and you'll more than likely have to make adjustments to that in the future. Anyhow, but just make the best guess that we can at the moment. So we're getting this one down there. It has this lower branch to the right. I think I'm just going to shorten it. I was thinking about just taking it off, but I mean, I can always take it off later. I think I'll leave it for now. And, you know, just kind of prune this to be super tight conical. I'm sort of making some Hail Mary cuts. That's a cut where there aren't any leaves, and I'm hoping we get some back budding and growth, which I think we will. This is a really voracious growing variety, so I'm not too concerned about cutting it right back. I'm quite sure I'll get new growth. I'll give these things plenty of sun and food. I haven't talked about that much on the channel yet, but especially in the summertime, Portulacaria love fertilizer, and you will see tremendous results if you feed them. So let me take a short intermission here and clear out some of the debris. So I think it helps to sort of see what's going on here. And you can sort of see the triangles I have going on here. I'm sort of outlining. And I want to just continue that. You know, we're kind of getting down to, I think we have 3 trees left to prune in the back. And so far, so good. So we'll swing around to this, looking at this tree in the back right-hand corner here. And I think I want this guy to be really super short. I'm going to take that crazy growth in the center right out. And, you know, for perspective, you kind of want a lot of branches down low, and you know, you want your trees to be short in the back. At least that's one of the standard techniques. So I'm really going to cut it back. I don't know, maybe even too far, but these things grow voraciously out the top. So, you know, it'll come back very strongly, and then we can sort of tune that. But I think that looks a lot better. You know, we're kind of getting a bit more of a forest look now. I can clearly see all the trunks, and there's a little bit of space between the trees. And just want to decide how much more I want to take off of this one. But I think that looks pretty good. You can always clean things up like I did there. You know, I find especially if there are leaves further up from where you're cutting, you can cut super close and it will heal quite nicely. Yeah, I think I will take that off. Actually, I was going to keep it, but then as I was looking, it's really just kind of cut across that other tree, and I'd much rather have it just be tall and straight like that. I think that's a much cleaner look, particularly since, you know, this is kind of a tight forest and we're going to need all the space we can get. So that looks pretty good. I want to deal with, I think we'll deal with this tree in the back left, and it's really too tall, so I think I'm going to take it off. You know, reasonably short. I think I'm going to take it off there. Yeah, we'll take it off there. And yeah, it's a nice big cutting. I have a lot of cuttings out of here, for sure. And then it's just a matter of sort of cleaning this one up. I sort of have a branch way over to the left there, and I have to decide what I want to do with that. And in fact, it's sort of just simplify this tree down. But this branch on the left, I haven't decided if I'm going to take it out or not. It sort of fills a space, but I almost feel like the issue here is that maybe I should just move this tree that I'm currently pruning closer to the corner, because then I think I wouldn't need that sort of green out there to sort of fill the space. I think the issue is I think I'll probably end up taking that off and move that tree to the left, but let's keep pruning and see what we get. At least I'll clean it up a little bit. Yeah, so I'm continuing to work on this tree in the left here, simplifying it a bit, and I really think I'm going to take that lower limb off and then figure out what to do after that, because it's just too low, and I don't want to, I mean, I suppose I could raise the tree up, but I don't really want to do that either. And I think it looks good otherwise, so I think, do I want to take that off? I think I do. I think that lower limb is just not suiting me well here, so I'm going to dig it out and just cut it off. And like I said, maybe I'll move that tree to the left. So last but not least, we got our nice triangle here, is to deal with this final tree in the back. And as I look at it, I think I just need to shorten it out. It's got a lot of nice branching. It just needs to be thinned out so that it'll look a bit better as a back tree. So I'm going to take it off right about here and neaten it up, and then that'll give me sort of two nice triangles, one on the left and one on the right. And maybe over time I'll make the tree on the right, or make one of them taller and one of them shorter, to sort of make it a little more of a differential in the height of the triangles. We have lots of time to do that, but I think that would make it look a bit better. But we've done a lot of progress, and it looks much, much better already today. So there's plenty of work for the future with this forest. Just trying to thin this guy out a bit here and do some branch selection. But I think there's not a whole lot more to do on this one. So I think that is just about it for the pruning. It looks pretty good. I mean, dramatically better than when we started. I can actually see all the trees. And I think, I want to deal with getting the rocks out of there. It's not completely necessary, but I feel like these are some huge rocks I put in here, and I think it'll just free up some root growth room. Ports really grow roots voraciously. I mean, they almost grow like maples or something. You get a lot of roots. So let me clean this up, and then we will move on to the next phase of working on this forest. So I've got it cleaned up, and you can see there, I think it looks quite good. I think we've done a great job so far. And, I'm just looking at here, let me adjust the camera. I'll pan down and I'll show you what we cut off here. We've taken a tremendous amount off of this thing. I mean, my little tray is just full of cuttings, so I mean, just look at that. It's a lot, probably, I don't know, over 90%. That is quite a reduction. But it's much the better for it, I would say. So let's move on to the next phase here. I want to take these rocks out of here, and this is the proof in the pudding. We'll see what kind of roots we got, but you can see these are just big, heavy rocks. I mean, and these things are dense. Like you can see it's got some roots sticking on it there. But I mean, they just make this pot insanely heavy, and so I want to get them out of there. And you can see they actually use up quite a bit of space in the pot. So we'll probably have to put some more soil in after I dig all these out. But the trees seem pretty stable even after removing the rock. So I think they've got enough roots that that's not a concern. So we will just get them out of here. And I mean, look at these rocks. This is actually an interesting rock. Let me see here. Yeah, let me just fill this in, and I want to show you this rock. It's I got this rock. Where did I get this rock? Let me just get this one out and see if I can jumpstart my brain. Yeah, so I'm just cleaning this rock out. I got this rock at a campground called Wedding Rock, and you can see it's got like a hole in it here. It's got dirt in it. Let me fill it out. But it's a campsite on the primitive, rustic Pacific coast of part of the Ozette Loop, and it's my absolute favorite place to camp. And I saw this rock on the ocean shore, and I just couldn't help myself, and I brought it home. But it's kind of a cool rock with that hole in it, and I'm not sure what the formation that causes that, but it's always a rock I like to use. But I'll continue digging these things out, and as I'm looking at this, I think this tree here might change the angle of it a bit if we can. I'd like it to be more sort of upright like the other trees, but we'll see what happens once we get these heavy boulders out of here. You can sort of see I sort of create a well with these rocks. As I continue digging these out, I'll tell you what I do here, and it's sort of like really keeps the trees in place and creates an area for them to grow. And you see they really like the rocks. I mean, every single rock I pulled out of here has like root hairs on it. So the trees really like having those rocks in the soil. And boy, I think it's like digging potatoes. They just keep rolling out of the ground here. I don't know how many I put in here, but we've taken out quite a few rocks already. Especially with the bigger trees, I was surprised that these rocks are really in here. It took me some effort to get some of those out, which is all good news. It means we got lots of roots, and the trees are happy there. Well, all right. I think the rock removal project is complete. I'm just going to smooth the soil out a bit here and fill some of these pockets and kind of get a gauge for how much additional soil. I probably had the soil a bit high, so I might not have to put too much in. I mentioned I want to change the angle of this, and I'll show you how I do that. I just sort of, let me find a chopstick here, and I kind of just, put the tree in hold it at the angle you want and just sort of work the soil and wiggle the roots a bit, and you'll sort of find it'll kind of reset itself and sort of hold the spot you want. And it just takes a little practice, but you can see we kind of were able to straighten that out pretty good. And you may take a few pokes at it, but it's a nice way to sort of just resituate a tree without disturbing it too much or setting it back too much. And you can make these little tweaks all the time. Actually, it's quite easy to do. So let me just work on this soil and kind of smooth it out a bit. I think that looks pretty good. So the other thing I want to do, this tree on the left just really bothers me. So I'm going to try similar technique with the chopstick to sort of, not take it completely out, but sort of, loosen the soil and the roots and wiggle it a bit and actually, try to slide it a bit this way. Now, this is, much more invasive and tougher on the tree than what I just did, but I think it's essential and I'll be a lot happier. And, these are pretty strong trees. I'm not too concerned about it. It's a very loose soil, and I kind of lifted it up a little, and I'm kind of wiggling it around and not pulling it. I don't want to break the roots. So you just kind of apply gentle pressure and just keep slowly working it and loosening the soil until you feel it moving, and then you can just kind of slide it a bit. You can also take the chopstick and, once you get it a little loose, you can help kind of slide it by kind of, getting on the root ball, in front of the root ball with the chopstick, and then pulling on the trunk very gently and sort of slide it. But I'm going to keep working at it here. You can see I finally got it loose, and so I do think I will be able to move this thing. And I just need to decide how far in the corner I want to go. You can see it's quite loose now, so I may have to put a rock back just to hold this tree right where I want it. I mean, you can see it's a bit more stable there, and I'm just going to cut off some roots that I've kind of unearthed in this process. But that's a lot better. I mean, I just wanted to create a little more space, and I'll put a rock in here to hold it, but I mentioned I had that lower branch, and I think that's just a lot better. The spacing's a lot better there, and I'm happy that I moved that tree. I did end up loosening that tree quite a bit, so I think I'm going to put another rock in there, because it's just quite wiggly, and I don't want to fasten it with wire or anything. So I'll just stick a couple of these in, and I'm going to put some topsoil on here too, which I will then kind of wiggle into those cracks, and it'll hold it quite firmly, at least until I see some new growth on that tree, and then I can take it out and it'll just firmly stay where it's at. So I did have to put a couple rocks back, but hey, I love using rocks in these forests. It's just a fantastic idea. So the last thing I want to do is just dump some of this topsoil I use on here. And I have a video I'll link in the description of the various soils I like to use, and this is one. It is actually a bonsai soil. I'm just dumping it all over here. But I think it provides a really nice top covering, kind of hides that coarse soil that I use, and just gives it a nice look. And these small kind of aggregates kind of go right in to fill cracks and hold things in place. And it's just a fabulous topsoil. And like I said, I'll link the video in the video description here, and you can, I go into great detail about what it is, and with links as even to where you can get it. But it's really, I think, my overall favorite topsoil, and it looks great wet. And like I said, it is a bonsai soil, so you can use it as that, although I pretty much use it as a top dressing. But let me just smooth this out and kind of make this all look good. I'm kind of running low on that topsoil, actually, so I may not be able to put as much on here as I want at this time. And I also kind of pull out the larger bits of pumice just to make it look a little better. Like I said, I'm running low on that soil, or I'd probably just cover them up. So I'll put the last bit of my top dressing on here, smooth it out, and then I think I will give this thing a watering, and we will take our victory lap, and I will leave you with the parting thought. So here we are, nice and wet. You can see the soil looks great, and we'll take a victory tour here and a victory lap, and I will talk a little bit about the parting thought. And I think what I want to say about that today is, don't let bonsai stress you out. Like, you can see we have some nice triangles here. It's a hobby, and it's supposed to be relaxing and rewarding, and and I think comparing your trees to other people's trees, or basically, wanting to try something that people say won't work, and feel good about it, right? I mean, this is all about experimentation, and I've seen tons of great things that actually do work, which are kind of unexpected. And I think, this forest makes me so happy. I look at this and I'm looking forward to developing it in the future. And let's go in and we'll take a kind of a tour, an eye level view tour of the forest before I let you go. But, take chances, and, this is for you, right? And I've always thought of this hobby as for me, and I love sharing it with other people. I love sharing it with you guys, and I love looking at other people's trees. And I love constructive criticism, and I think that's a great way to do your bonsai. And so with that, I want to thank you for spending time with me, and I look forward to spending time with you all again very, very soon.